This is Ian from Military Gun, and these are Records in My Life.
Thank you so much for being on the show, Ian. How are you today?
I'm doing amazing. I'm hearing Woolworm soundtrack currently, and they're one of my favorite bands. So it's a great day.
Fantastic. I just wanted to say thank you so much for being on Records of My Life. Congratulations on Life Under the Gun. It's received a lot of great accolades.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a crazy trip so far.
Post Malone loved the song "Do It Faster." I read somewhere he called it one of his favorite songs.
Yeah,
Of the year.
it was the whole thing was a trip. I mean, the whole Post Malone of it all was, I was getting texts of like, hey, just so you know, Post Malone won't stop singing "Do It Faster," and it was before the album came out. Like it was the only song we had out from the album at the time, and then it was like, hey, can you meet up with us? And then I was sent their European tour routing. We were in Europe at the same time. It was like, can you come to the London show? Can you come to this show? Blah, blah, blah. And then it was like, oh, I can go to the Amsterdam show if I just stay another day because they played 2 days after us. And then we had this amazing night where we hung out. And, I mean, dude just loves listening to music.
Yeah.
Like he's listening to music. He's turning on music. Like our song with Woolworm came on his phone while we were just playing beer pong. And it was like, this is a very weird circumstance. This is like this is not reality, and like so much so that when you exit that situation, you have a little bit of whiplash going back to being like, nope, life is just normal. I'm kind of broke. Like it doesn't, it's not reality at all. So, but yeah, then it's him and his whole team have done a lot for us as a band. So it's been very surreal and very cool to be involved in.
That's great. So tell us a bit about the inspiration behind Life Under the Gun and who you collaborated on, inspirations.
Yeah, I mean, so long list of collaborators for it. I mean, kind of first and foremost would be our friend Phil Odom, who's a really great vocal producer. And as this record was taking shape, I was really learning to sing, and he was teaching me to sing. But I mean, as far as influences, like it's anything from classic rock, The Who, the Beatles, the Stones, to Third Eye Blind, and in our contemporaries, like we love being inspired by our friends like Angel Dust. Spiritual Cramp has been a very inspiring band. Woolworm is a very inspiring band to us. And just taking like anything within alternative music and viewing it as any source, anything in alternative or rock music, like in the continuum of just possibility. And we just believe that anything could be an influence for a Military Gun song. Like we're not, we never shut it down. We like to just believe anything's possible.
That's great. We were talking about Guided by Voices earlier and talking about our mutual love for them.
Yeah.
And if my research is right, Robert Pollard and
Huge
GBV
influence.
are one of your favorite bands.
Yes. Yeah.
Give me a couple of records by him or them and
Well,
why?
okay, first I would suggest the Boston Spaceships greatest hits. It's like Boston Spaceships. What's crazy about Robert Pollard is that he has so many records that his side bands have greatest hits. Where it's like he has to be one of the only people in history to have that be the case. But Out of the Universe by Sundown, which is the greatest hits collection for Boston Spaceships, which has I think 4 or 5 LPs to itself.
That's insane.
I mean, that being edited down to truly like the really amazing songs is I mean, I could listen to that record any day. And we have a lot of the songs on our playlist. We play them at the show. I think Under the Bushes, Under the Stars is one of the most best edited Guided by Voices records, where like the sequence, it doesn't have as much of the like abstract songs that like Alien Lanes and B1000 have, where kind of is a really to the point record, kind of similarly to like Earwhig, where it's just a great track listing, where it's like you listen to that front to the back, and by the time you're getting to not behind the fighter jet. It's just you're like,
Hmm.
I'm still in it, you know, like this. I'm here. Where some records, like the editing is different. I think there's different goals for different records, and I have no intention on critiquing that. It's just what speaks to me the most is the more edited, pared down, kind of by voices records.
Thanks again so much for being on Records in My Life. You're a true sport. The
Yeah.
show's about you, the artist, and the records you love. I know you have a very close relationship with one of your brothers, and you bond over records a lot.
Yeah.
Which ones do you have a mutual love for? A couple.
Ooh, that's a really good question. I mean, my brothers are into very different things. I mean, ceremony, violence, violence. My brother Max and I, like, that is a huge record for the both of us. My first experiences in Seattle hardcore were going to ceremony shows. Like, they had blast beats, which spoke to me, and the lyrics spoke to me. I've got problems. I'm a fucked up kid. Like, ceremony was a very important band for me. And then as he was coming into adolescence and being a teenager, I was taking him to ceremony shows. And so I think ceremony is a very important band for us. I think a lot of Kanye in our lives. It's funny because there's like hyper specific Seattle things where like I was really into the Blue Scholars and which is like Seattle hip hop like back when I was in like middle school and high school and I showed those things to him and then that changes his trajectory because then he really loves them because his older brother shows it to him.
Right.
Um, my youngest brother is a total metalhead.
Hmm.
And so Megadeath, I think, is like a huge shared point of reference for both of us. Like not only that, it's political. It's very rebellious, but also our dad loves it. You know what I'm saying? It's like one of those weird cross sections of like being critical of society at large and politics, but also like your dad is throwing up the horns.
Three generations. Your young brother. What's two? But
Two
that's amazing.
generations.
Yeah,
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 yeah.
two. That's amazing.
But like that type of thing is a very interesting dynamic. And so it's fun finding those things that we all share.
And which records would you
For
say?
me, Rust in Peace is
Yeah.
the Megadeth record. My dad loved Symphony of Destruction, and Youthanasia. That like those records are his records, but as far as the one that speaks to me the most is Rust in Peace.
I've been asking this question a lot, and our audience is probably going to hate me, but it is a word. And I ask this because I love soundtracks, and once again, the show's not about me, it's about you. But do you have a favorite? It could be from this
Ooh.
year or any year, but a favorite soundtrack.
I feel like the Clerks soundtrack was probably a very important one. Bad Religion was on it. There's a lot of grunge on it. I was actually just watching Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back last night, and I was like, it's so interesting to me how lowbrow it is.
It
But at the same,
really is. That's
it's
so
truly
funny.
lowbrow. And then I was like, I had the thought of like, did I think this was funny because I was lowbrow or because I always knew that? Because I've always been kind of a prude, and honestly. And I was like, did I think this was funny because I thought Jay and Silent Bob were the joke, or because I was like, yeah, fart and boob jokes? Like I I'm trying to really think through my childhood to be like, which side of the line was I on? But Clerks, I would say for sure. Trying to think of other ones that one comes to mind first. So I'm
That's a
just
good
gonna
one.
go with Clerks. Yeah.
I completely forgot about that soundtrack. I thought Soul Asylum on that
Soul
one
Asylum
too.
is on there,
Yeah.
and Bad Religion
Yeah.
it happens during like the funeral scene. Uh, and so I already was a fan of Bad Religion, so I feel like it was one of those things where it was like, oh yeah, like I know that song.
We live in turbulent times, obviously, like politically and what's going on everywhere. What's a good record? I mean, like a la Clash or Bob Dylan to kind of educate people a bit more as to what's going on, to wake up a little bit and move their feet and do something.
I would say The War on Airism by NoFX. Like for me, that was one of my first political awakenings, where it was like, anti-Bush. It was critical of the financial crisis. It was, like the things that are talked about on that record. It's like this song that the idiots have taken over. It's talking about, woman living in her car and trying to feed her kids and then shooting a family and moving into their home. Like, I don't know if those are real instances or not, but um, as far as like a political awakening, that paired with the Rock Against Bush comp that came out when I was,
Right.
it's like fifth, sixth grade, like that, those hit hard, and they were the start of my protest, of like hating everything.
I think you learned how to play drums as your first one year.
I was bass first, but yeah, drums was like what I was doing that kind of moved my life forward.
So what's a record that started inspired wanted you to move forward on the drums and challenged you?
Iron Lung, Cold Storage was a huge, huge influence. That was me like taking those drum parts and trying to learn. I've always loved blast beat music, and so Iron Lung was also Seattle local. I always loved kind of emphasizing local things. But yeah, so many drum parts from Iron Lung in general. There's very iconic drum parts. Like that is a band that made drum riffs. Like the drums are played like a guitar because the drums can be the hook. And so listening to those records, that really was where I started to like mimic and learn.
Two more quick questions. Thanks
Yeah.
again for being on Records in My Life. Give us a scoop for a young band that we should be our audience and your fans, a young
Ooh.
band that you're digging these days.
I really love this band Lip Critic. Lip Critic from New York City, like it's two drummers and just samplers. Like the songs are really wild. The vocals are very hip hop cadence. It's like kind of post Show Me the Body, post MS Paint. Like it's like if you like things like that, you might like this. This guy Dan Spencer from Tennessee. It kind of sounds like a more country Bob Mold. It
Wow.
it, it is awesome music. The stuff that he has coming out next is amazing. Um, Liquid Mike from Michigan, another huge huge
Well,
obsession.
you know the geography too. What a
Yeah, yeah,
mind.
and then
Encyclopedic mind. It's
yeah,
amazing.
and then Public Opinion from Denver. I just produced their new LP with Taylor Young, and it'll be out this year. And yeah, those four. The four is a lot. It kind of goes against my
That's great.
my usual thing of trying to name as few so people actually check it out. But Lip Critic, Dan Spencer, freaking Liquid Mike, and Public Opinion. Those are
Fantastic.
my suggestions.
Um, favorite Canadian record. I'm sorry.
Ooh, favorite Canadian record. I'm gonna go with Woolworm Desire To Die.
Thank you. That's great.
That
That's
I mean,
local too.
yeah, I absolutely have been like my actual experience. It's not like hyperbolized in any way. I was playing a show in Kamloops, and the house music was Deserve to Die. They were just playing Deserve to Die front to back. And I kept going, wow, this song's really good. This is a really good song. And then eventually I had to walk over to the guy who booked the show and be like, what is this? And he goes, it's this band Woolworm from Vancouver. Uh, it's this record, Deserve to Die. And there's so few things in this world that have been as motivating to be like, like just hear it in the world and then be like, I think I'm obsessed with this now, and that's what Woolworm did for me, where like it completely, I was obsessed as soon as I'm an obsessive person, but and today, I listen to Deserve to Die and all on the drive up, and I'm very excited to see them play tonight. So I definitely have to go Woolworm.
Excellent. On to the speed round. Weed, water, or wine to listen to your favorite record or write.
Wine, wine for sure. I love being drunk listening to music. It is a supreme experience. Writing as well. I can write. I cannot write. I do like being stoned listening to music, but yeah, for I think one.
Record of your generation.
I'm gonna go Ceremony Violence Violence. I think that there's probably more pretentious answers, but I'm gonna go Ceremony Violence Violence.
Coffee with an artist, alive or dead.
I mean, I want to talk to Damon Albarn. That's like huge, huge, huge thing. We've been covering Blur. I've been obsessed with the Gorillaz since I was in fifth grade. Like I, and his output is so varied, um, and it evolved, and then he can also still go back to Blur and he could do a solo record. And and it's a very inspiring way to look at the way a career in music can unfold. And I see myself, you know, coming from hardcore bands, playing blast beats into, you know, Military Gun, into whatever the next thing that I'm going to do is. It's just inspiring to see the various paths that you can take and that people will be accepting of your musical turns. Like, I mean, his career is very, very inspiring, and his music is still relentlessly inspiring to me.
So Gorillaz or Blur, which
I'm
a
gonna go.
record between the two.
I'm gonna go Gorillaz. Gorillaz self-titled is flawless. It is so good.
Words of wisdom for your fans and our audience.
Try to forgive someone else for your own sanity.
Fantastic. That's a great one.
Yeah.
I remember that too. The show is really nothing without you. So please like or subscribe or check out our Patreon. And this year we've switched it up, and you can win a record just for leaving a comment. Thank you again, and we love you. Peace.